Hey everyone, MTG Moxman here, and guess what? Tonight's lore video on Yawgmoth led me to something explosive. A card that nobody knows about that will be in Commander Legends, and you're going to hear it on my channel first. Stay tuned and watch this one. Hey guys, welcome back. MTG Moxman here. Thanks a lot for tuning in tonight to the Yawgmoth lore video. Now, we're going to talk a lot about Yawgmoth, but I know a lot of people turned in from my little intro that talks about there will be an unannounced card that I have not found anywhere else, and I believe it to be not known. Okay? They haven't spoiled it anywhere. It hasn't been any of the little card drop pictures, and I know about this card. So, in my searching for Yawgmoth lore, I found out about this card. I looked into it. Did some comparisons. This card is real, okay? So the name will be dropped on tonight's video, and I will let you know when that happens. It'll be later on, so don't worry. So let's get started. Thanks a lot for tuning in to all the new subscribers, all the regular subscribers, and please, if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to hit subscribe. It really helps the channel grow, and we're well past the 1K now, and we're heading for the 2K mark. So please, shout it out to your friends. Let's get more people going here. Thanks a lot to my patrons and my regular viewers every day. This video is brought to you by Ian. You wanted to see a Yawgmoth video, you put the suggestion out there, I did the research. So, let's start off. Yawgmoth, he's known as the Lord of Waste. He's like the inevitable guy. He is very evil, very nasty. He starts out as like a medical practitioner, studying like eugenics during the Thran Empire. You're talking thousands of years before the Mishras, before Urza and Mishra, during the Brothers' War. You're talking the very beginning of Magic's history. This is some of the first sets they talk about, right? And they revisit in some of the other sets. There's so many flavor text cards that bring out Yawgmoth, but there's no actual creation of Yawgmoth. They did it in Double Masters, showing us like Thran, the medical physician guy, right? But that's not really him, is it? We all know him as this powerful world-ending entity. So let's get to it and find out how he got there and why he got there. So when you go to number 2 here, it says, he was a human, kind of a spirit god, after the founding of Phyrexia. His lifetime is about 5,000 AR to about 4,250 AR. It's around 9,000 years, give or take a little bit. Magic history gets a little bit hazy. The card you're seeing on the screen right now is Yawgmoth, the physician, right? So he's a Thran physician at this point. He's got some cool stuff going for him. As you can see, he's like protection from humans. Like, this is just him as a human, not as a powerful guy. And this card is already pretty awesome, as we know. So, but he's still normal at this point. He's not like some crazy guy. So when you go here, you realize Yawgmoth was born like during the last century of the Thran Empire. He's there actually near the end of it, okay? Now this card I'm showing you right here shows the tentacle, right? That flavor text is crazy. Where his cards are all about death, despair, glory to Phyrexia, sacrificing the weak to help the strong and make them stronger. It's kind of creepy, really, okay? Like it's not your normal everyday thing. Can I? No, I guess I can't. I don't want to wreck things as we're going here. But needless to say, he is not a nice guy. Okay? He's nasty, as you're going to find out. Even when he was young, he was nasty. So, Yawgmoth was part of the eugenics team in the Thran Empire. And he sided in a civil war with like imperialists, right? The rich people. But they lost to like a Republican rabble who wanted like votes and stuff. So he was exiled. He wasn't killed, but he was exiled and sent away. Now, during his exile, he visited all kinds of areas on Dominaria in the relation to Thran. Like, you got to realize, as we've talked about in our Dominaria lore video, that the world is so big, guys. It's like 2.5 times the size of Earth. Wizards is basically touched less than 10%, so most of their stories actually happen in a very tight area, and this is no different. The Thran Empire becomes part of the Fallen Empires, becomes part of the Brothers, Urza, Mishra War, Antiquities. It's all that same area of the world, okay? So when he was sent away, he decided to experiment and do things on other people. So he visited diseases, plagues. He studied them. He brought the dwarves this thing called Black Cough, which was blamed on their king, and he almost got killed when there was like riots and war in his own kingdom, right? And it displaced the dwarves' power. After this, the dwarves were no longer powerful because they had so many people killed during the Civil War. Now, the elves he visited in the Argoth forest, he created an Argoth mold that ate the elves. Like, ate away their skin until they died, guys. Like, ate your flesh. And when he said he could heal it, he said, send your best healer. He took the best healer, and sent them 12 vials of like sweetened water that they thought was the cure. They all died. Like, most of them all died out. It's crazy. Now, the Minotaurs, he visited upon them a type of plague, but he just wanted to study it. So he didn't help them at all. He just let them all die. Right? Now, the list goes a little bit further than what I'm showing you here. He visited the cat people and gave them rabies, and they all tore themselves to shreds. It's pretty horrible stuff. Okay? Every empire and culture he visited, he basically wrecked it, guys. He killed off people. I don't know, they don't give you numbers, but I assume it's pretty huge. Like, whole civilizations were devastated by what he did traveling around in Dominaria during his exile of that 5 years. Think about how much damage this is in a 5-year period. Talk about a changing figure of society in the Dominarian calendar. That is crazy to think about. Now, later on, you have to understand, after Yawgmoth was in exile for about 5 years, he gets recalled to the capital of the Thran Empire, Halcyon. Okay, now, here it is, guys. Glason, the Power Stone Engineer, is the spoiler from Commander Legends. I found this during my research. I'm not going to tell you how, but this card exists inside Commander Legends. That is his name. Glason, the Power Stone Engineer. Understand, this card will be in Commander Legends, and you won't find it anywhere but on my channel. Awesome, right? Timestamp it today. And I will research more cards. If they don't spoil it tomorrow, if we don't start seeing spoilers, I will find more cards and put up a video on Sunday about spoiler cards that nobody's seen. I'm not going to tell you how I'm doing it, but that is how it's done. I found it. It's there. That's the real card. Now, he was very sick. Glason was very sick with a disease called Phyrexia, okay? As you kind of becomes Phyrexia later, right? But Phyrexia right now. It's a disease that kind of sticks metal to your skin and you can't get rid of it. It makes you very ill. And it's all caused by the mana rig. Now, the girl you see in the picture is Rebic. That is Glason's wife. He is a powerful artificer at this point. And she is his wife and helps rule the kingdom of Halcyon, okay? Pretty awesome people. They know what's going on. Sorry, just going to the next slide thing here. All right, now Yawgmoth, he learns from the disease. He learns his cause of the power stones from the mana rig that the Thran Empire uses to create its power source. So, he also realized it has an effect on the people. It makes them sick and die. Those people they thought was like disease people, they're called the Untouchables. Nobody wants to go near them because they all die. Now, when this gets leaked out to the people, a guy called Gix, a human rebel rouser, gets the people together and we want revenge for what they've done to us. The rich people did this, which is kind of funny because the elitists lost the war and the rebels are now the new elitists. Kind of cool, right? So, when this all finds out, right, it turns out the rebel who stabbed Glason is Gix, which causes the infection in Glason. Now, Glason wants revenge. Gix wants revenge. Now, you see the picture with Gix as a human turned into a Phyrexian demon. He becomes a greater demon in the Phyrexian army, one of the inner circle of Yawgmoth. So he's not killed during all this. He gets taken to Phyrexia later and turned into one of the first true Phyrexians who have been molded into this giant demon shape. But right now, they've called back Yawgmoth to like fix the situation. We know you're a medical guy. You know a lot about disease. Save Glason, save the Empire, fix it. So, Yawgmoth is convinced the elders of the city to give him money, resources, so he can research the disease, find out what's going on. But he already has kind of found out. Now, after a while, he gets apprentices, people to go with him. A healer named Exile goes with him and gives him the idea of taking the serum and turning it into a type of metal-resistant thing that will drain the Phyrexia out of people, at least temporarily. It's how you deal with a lot of stuff nowadays. You may have a disease for life, but you can at least live with it. Now, at this point, this is a pre-mending time period, don't forget. We have Dryfid coming. Dryfid is a planeswalker who has heard amazing things about Glason, this engineer who's created these amazing artifacts, and wants to visit. But what ends up happening, she ends up talking to Yawgmoth as well. Yawgmoth gets Dryfid's ear, starts talking about the planeswalker spark, how it all works, and they get to talking. Dryfid's a new planeswalker and is lured in by all this. Oh, poor Dryfid. So, when we get back to this, we realize that as they're talking and the research is going on. Gix now tries to bring, he's a human still, and he tries to bring a riot right into Halcyon. Okay, like right into the capital city with all the untouchable people armed to the teeth. And they march on the city. And the Halcyon Guard, they're like, oh my god, we're going to lose, right? But Yawgmoth's research hasn't all just been research, right? He comes up with weapons and technology. He finds ways of fighting the rebel rousers. He starts killing them off. The guards help mop it up. Before you know it, Yawgmoth is hailed as a hero in Halcyon. Remember, just 5 years ago, the guy was banned for trying to overthrow the government. Now, he's hailed as like a hero. Everyone loves him. He's like the be-all, end-all. I mean, he's at the height right now. Even though he's an evil, manipulative person, everyone loves him at the moment. Does that sound like anyone you know in real life? But what ends up happening is at his height of a festival, when he's being celebrated in the city, delegates come from all in the surrounding area kingdoms. These are the cat people, the dwarves, the elves, small human villages, the minotaurs. Everyone he tortured has come against him. All the rival nations have come against him, and they've threatened war unless he gets turned over. Well, what you have to understand is he has the height of his fame. Dryfid, Rebic, Glacian, they're all kind of like, wow, no, we can't let anything happen to this guy. He's saving our population. This guy is it. We can't let anything happen. But it goes to a city vote to see if he gets kicked out or gets to stay. The vote goes 50-50. But what ends up happening is the deciding vote, is with Rebic and Yawgmoth himself. So they vote to keep him. They don't want anything to happen to Glacian. Or she doesn't anyway. So, war happens. But guess what? He so easily starts defeating these nations, as you'll soon find out. Okay. When the war is going on, the reason he is winning is he has convinced Dryfid to find him a plane where he can make a paradise world where there is no disease, is what he tells her. So she takes him to a realm she found called Phyrexia. It has primitive metal life forms, but the person, whoever created this realm, has died. And the realm is actually slowly deteriorating without anyone to bind itself to him. So somehow, we don't get explained how, but Yawgmoth, with Dryfid's help, binds himself to Phyrexia. He can still travel around, but it's tied to him, which means his power now starts to grow as Phyrexia's power grows. Okay? So, she opens up this artificial portal between the two worlds using power stones. Now, since it's an artificial plane, you do have to visit it, you have to keep an eye on it. He can't just leave all the time. It's go back and forth. Now, at this point, he says, you know what? I'm going to bring some of these untouchables with me. And when I bring them with me, we're going to try to heal them. We're going to heal them there so I don't have any distractions. But what he brings back to fight all these other nations that are arrayed against him is the first modified Phyrexians. They're leaner, stronger, more vicious, metal cased to the skin. Most people just think they're soldiers. They don't realize that this is the beginning of Phyrexia. So you have to understand that. Now these modifications, he basically defeats all these alliance of other nations against him. All those people he tortured, they don't have a chance. He wipes them all out. Okay? Now, at this point, though, Dryfid sees the people, understand that she's like horrified. She thought he was going to find this peaceful, perfect world, and instead he's made horrible, disgusting creatures and monsters that all serve him. She threatens to overthrow him. She threatens to take the plane away from him. And she wants all these delegates that he had captured returned. He shows her the horror of what he's done to the delegates, and when she's in shock of what's happened, he stabs her through the skull with a magical knife that scrambles her brain. It doesn't make it so she can planeswalk. She can't even think. Then he proceeds to vivisect her, like lay her down, start peeling her whole body apart to try to find her planeswalker spark so he can become a planeswalker. Think about how horrible that is. Now at this point, Rebic comes along, still wanting her husband to be safe, takes out the knife, and allows Dryfid to die. And we know Yawgmoth never found that planeswalker spark. So, this leads us to the next stage. Now the nations that are arrayed against him, without his planeswalker help, without being tied to the portals closely, he loses a major battle. Because what ends up happening is when he thinks he's at his most, Rebic has told people what's going on, but hasn't done much about it. there's a moon in Dominaria called the Null Moon. It's actually a satellite of a sort that fires weapon systems created by Yawgmoth down to the armies. They sacrifice themselves, kill off everyone in the Null Moon, and what ends up happening is during this huge crisis battle he's in, all the weapons he's using, all these poisons and gases and diseases he's throwing at the enemy armies, ends up killing his own troops because he has no magical protection for them because the Null Moon is out of commission. Like, think about that, right? All resistance to these potent weapons is gone. So everyone dies. The whole city starts to get wiped out because he was just firing everywhere knowing his guys were protected. So Halcyon becomes a destroyed city. It becomes the ruins that the brothers Urza and Mishra find later. So all the remaining people, everyone who's left in Halcyon, either dies in the city, not wanting to leave it, or the survivors evacuate to the one portal in Phyrexia. There's one portal in, they're all just running through. They're escaping, right? They're getting out of there. So, what ends up happening? Rebek's wife, right? Glacian, Rebek's wife, she stops Yawgmoth. She goes to the portal and she takes out those power stones and the portal closes. It's gone. Yawgmoth's freaking out. He can't get back. So he bides his time. 4,000 years, 5,000 years, time goes by. His invasion force on Phyrexia invades whole other planes of existence and wipes them out. But for some reason, he can't find his way back to Dominaria. It seems whatever Rebek did locked everything. Now those two stones were inside of Glacian. They were taken out, closed in the portal, and left in the caves of Krolis. But here we go, 1,000 years later. It says 4,000 here, but it's actually later than that later on. The timelines don't match up. The brothers, Urza and Mishra, who you see on your screen right now. Urza's the one with the might stone, the big fist, and the weak stone is the drooling dog. Urza and Mishra find the stones. They fight over them, and they each take one half. By separating the stones, they allow a small planar portal to open. This allows Yawgmoth a way in, a way to peek back into Dominaria. So now he has a way back in. He starts sending sleeper agents. He sends Gix, who's now fully formed, that demon guy you saw. That's how he looks now. They build up cults of machine worshippers, all these things about how great it is to be in the machine world, which of course, you know, most Dominarians fall for. Let's face it, you can't get sick, it's the best of the best, but it's not really, right? We already know it's manipulated, but that's how it's going. So, at this point, Yawgmoth, of course, is tied to his plane. And although he's not a planeswalker, guys, he gains power when the plane gets more powerful. So, now he has a way back to Dominaria. He starts invasion forces. His first few attacks fail. They get wiped out by guys who can fight Phyrexians that were created by Urza. Urza's come back in full force. Okay? He is duking it out. Mishra has already lost the war at this point. He's been taken to Yawgmoth's realm because Yawgmoth was trying to convince him to join their side. So what happens is this big battle goes on. It goes back and forth. This is just armies fighting, guys. Massive war machine armies. Tens of thousands of troops everywhere. Catapults, magics, everything. And what ends up happening is the Plane of Wrath, which is an artificial plane that gets created for the invasion force of Phyrexia in case the portal gets closed. It overlaps, called the Overlay, into Dominaria, and a massive invasion happens. Keleved and stuff get totally destroyed. There's all these evil kind of Phyrexian and Vizikar guys who come over and start fighting. But Urza's prepared. He's been building for this for thousands of years after he saw what happened the first time. And he sends wave after wave of troops and armies, and most of the countries are holding their own. The merfolk do a great job, by the way, on Dominaria of beating the tar out of them. And just so you know, at this point, the Thalids and Slivers are invaded by the Phyrexians. Phyrexians don't even make it the first day. The entire army is wiped out. Just so you know. Like, everything on Spadia, nothing can take them on. So it's kind of cool. That's another story from their lore video, but it's very cool how it ties into this story and the timeline, what we're talking about for Yawgmoth. So, Yawgmoth has stayed back at this point. He's stayed in Phyrexia to gain power. And what's happened is his armies start to lose. They're being overwhelmed, okay? So, in the end, he's afraid of losing everything. He's just, worked so hard to get. He comes out as a giant death cloud sporous thing. And he pours into Dominaria. And anything he touches dies, but is reborn instantly as a Phyrexian, attacking the enemy. So now he's starting to convert whole armies over to his side, and he's going like a big wave toward what's going on. And then what happens is Urza has been prepared for this. He knows Yawgmoth is aligned with black mana. He uses the Weatherlight Legacy weapon. Now with the Power Stones in his eyes, plus Karn, he is able to combine all the stones together, use the Legacy weapon with pure white mana, and it just blows basically Yawgmoth away, okay? Supposedly. Now, there's other parts of the story that go other ways, guys, okay? Like, that's the end of Yawgmoth, as far as we know. But Corona, the false god, suppose he had a conversation with him. Urza, before this battle even happens, Urza goes with the 9 Titans, which is Tevash Shavat, and they go to their world, the 9 Titans, and like they devastate Phyrexia's building arsenals and weapons in the world itself with soul bombs. But this is the end of Yawgmoth. He is killed here by Urza sacrificing himself. Urza's eyes were the Power Stone and Weak Stone. They actually held Glacian's soul. And all those things combined with Karn blow up Yawgmoth. And the leftover piece of Urza becomes Karn's Spark, which is also part of Sarah's realm, all combined into Karn. So Karn actually probably some pretty sick, tough planeswalker if you ever want it to be. But that's how our history goes for our video. So that was the end of Yawgmoth. I really hope you guys got a lot out of this. I really enjoyed doing the video. It was pretty in-depth, and I did still glance over and gloss over a little bit, guys, but that's kind of how it went. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you love that spoiler card. Remember, I'm going to look for more. If nothing shows up tomorrow or the next day, I'm going to go looking for cards, and I'll do a video Sunday. And I'll start spoiling more stuff. I know where to look. I know how to find it now. So that's the first spoiler card I found, though. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please leave comments below. I would love to hear everything you guys have to say. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please remember to subscribe and join the channel. We're just growing right now. It's going to be awesome. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great night tonight. Stay safe. Bring a friend to Magic. And yeah, I got nachos and cheese upstairs. Army of Darkness still rocks. I don't care. Halloween's awesome. All right, guys. Cheers. Enjoy. Don't party too much. Stay safe. And, you know, that's all I got to say right now. That's kind of how it's going. Hope you guys enjoy. Yawgmoth's awesome. Hey guys, thanks for tuning on. This message is for my patrons. You guys are awesome. I will be posting any information you need to know about tonight's video, anything at all. Just send me a question. I will be happy to answer that question for you. Thanks a lot for tuning in. This is MTG Moxman.